about their draft. Maybe things just weren't working out for them. Maybe they want to try and bring back the same roster, do the salty run back, see if they can get it. Maybe things just didn't quite get rolling the way they wanted it to.
Wouldn't be surprised to see them take away either an Erlang Shen or a Scotty pick here. The Permafrost and Malloy's constantly knocking members up was definitely an issue for Era, and sure enough, not looking to have it run back. Atonement, no more Scotty for you.
Now they're still going to be taking out the Barra, or the Terra, how about, instead of Barra. But on the other side, we have the Odin and the Erlang Shen being locked in.
Barra does play a pretty sick Terra, though, I gotta say. Have you ever seen his assault matches? They actually go pretty well.
Him and Jeff, it's just the jewel lane coming out from LG right there. They recognize it.
And, of course, not too surprised to see Era actually opting for that Erlang Shen. Both of the guys that I think were probably the most problematic for Era in that first match being immediately taken away as options for CAZ. But CAZ not dissuaded by that in the slightest, looking to run back the Hercules and Ganesh.
Yeah, being able to lock that in, that's gotta feel comfortable for him coming into this one, just because at this point, hey, your two frontliners that did a lot of work for the rest of the team, you still have them. The Kukulkan and the Huyi, though, going to be locked in here for Era. Kukulkan's one of those ones that he has a lot of coming forward. He has a lot of potential, but at the same time, he can be rough if it gets off to a rough start, the same way we saw last game. So depending on what we see coming out for the jungle from CAZ, that may or may not work out for Era.
Well, it's still a little bit of a flex pick option here before Era. They could run the Erlang in the solo or in the jungle, but either way, whether they choose to go with Erlang or Kukulkan in that solo lane side, it'll still fare a little bit better against that Hercules and be able to put out a little bit more pressure as well as some survivability, which I think is the most important part, because Rogue dying as early as he did kind of funneled into Era losing control of the map. And it wasn't, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't put the blame solely on Rogue as much as it is. They just happened to get pressured out with the rotations, and not a lot that could have been done there.
And Era seeming to be a little bit scared of what Atonement can pull out. They do get rid of the Artemis and the Jingwei, and with the Scotty there, he's been kind of just the main target for their bans. On the other side, though, a lot of supports coming through, not wanting to give Tyler that Sobek again. Although it wasn't as effective as it could have been, the potential was always there, but we do see the Fafnir and the Ra going to be locked in instead for that side.
Absolutely loving this draft so far, though, from Era. It looks like they recognize that they didn't want to have no presence in the early game again, and having such strong laning phases all around should really make things a little bit easier for Era this time. But CAZ, same mentality, having the Thoth and the Chronos, those are two very late game mages that can absolutely destroy if it gets to that stage.
It looks like they're just trying to hope that their team can kind of carry them to that point. And that's kind of what happened in the last match. We got to see the jungle and the solo were really doing a lot of the work. Mid never really had a lot going on until we saw the fully stacked Doom Orb. And when it came down to it, Atonement had a lot of impact, but it didn't happen until about 15 plus minutes in.
Oh, well, this game's already going to be a little bit better than the last because Sir Duckbot got that Chibi Ra skin going on. Every game is great with that voice pack. Every
game is great with that voice pack. The only thing that, I mean, of course people are going to be mad about it, but the laughs for Ra are always going to be the best. And Sir Duckbot, depending on how he's feeling, might be able to throw some of those out throughout the game, depending on how things go. But Era do have to kind of combat that mentality that they have after losing that last game and losing it the way they did with such control coming out from CAZ. It's going to be a little rough for them mentally coming into this.
And check out that pressure, though, in the duo lane. Atonement trying to farm out his creeps, at least the two small ones. That way he can hit level 2 off the wave. But having a pretty difficult time considering that Tyler K and Lizer chose to invade.
Now the camps on the right-hand side going to be taken away by CAZ. Pretty similar to what we saw towards the end of the last game. They got control of this jungle, and the fight's actually going to start up already. Rogue T very low. Malloy's and Mr. Turtle doing their best to try and find that early first blood like they did before. But this time they don't have quite as much control with the Hercules and the Raven as they did with the Airling on their side. Overpowered. Actually happy that he took that one away, but the knock-up and the push are still good. Rogue T, they're forced to sprint this early on just to get out. Might just barely make it.
That sprint actually just barely saving Rogue, but Malloy's actually in a little bit of danger now. Archer is still dealing a significant amount of damage to both sides, but Era turning just slightly in the favor because of Overpowered's health bar in comparison to Malloy's and Mr. Turtle.
And now we're going to see, again, with low health bars at this point, you would kind of expect them to back off and not get as aggressive, but they're actually going to continue pushing forward, and Malloy's going to get pushed back because of it. He's getting low, and one more hit is all it's going to take. Overpowered going to be able to find the opposite of what happened to him last game, the early first blood this time being in favor of Era. With the knockback, Mr. Turtle still looking for some return fight. A little bit of Bluestone ticks trying to get that damage down, but ultimately at this point it's still just Poke, and Overpowered not too worried about his position.
Overpowered for reasonably so, because he's got Rogue T to back him up. And I'm also really happy to see this Cocolan being the solo laner because of that Barbed Spear. Having that 50% healing reduction now after its buff is going to be pretty substantial as far as going against the Hercules.
With the pressure that Lizer and Tyler were able to kind of find early on, and of course with the ricochets coming out from Hu Yi, they're looking to keep control of this left-hand jungle. And we actually see Switch is forced to fall over here to help Atonement out. Chronos not going to be strong enough to really kind of combat the dual lane pressure from Era, and because of that they're having to put Switch in a different position just because of it. And now Era going to be able to use their pressure. They're going to be able to take away some of those jungle buffs.
A little bit of deja vu, but against CAZ this time. This is what they were doing in Era all last game, but we're going to see how long Era are able to afford invading that jungle before the rotations start coming through from CAZ. Switch has been hanging around that mid lane a lot, trying to help out Alexum get through that awkward early stage for the Thought.
And that's going to be the awkward part. Now at level 5, he does have that ult available. And we'll be seeing snipes coming down from Duckbot and Alexum both. And depending on which one is going to be, so far, just the more MLG player when it comes down to it, whoever can kind of push forward and find those snipes, they're going to be able to potentially turn the tides for their team. And Alexum going to have a little bit more range and a little bit more damage on that as it is right now. So Sir Duckbot has his work cut out for him.
Sir Duckbot, though, with a slight experience lead, just because he's been left alone the majority of this time to farm out that mid lane, and Overpowered. He's got no fears in the world, just aggressively pathing everywhere.
And we see Rogue T. Nice Hulk out form, but not able to do much with it. He's going to find the aggression, and we see more aggression coming out from Era over here onto the red buff, and it doesn't look like CAZ are going to be able to do too much about it, except steal it away for themselves. They have it. They don't really have the ability to grab it. Atonement's going to go in, but he's still level 4 up against a level 4 and a level 6 in his own jungle. Can't contest that purple buff. He's going to go ahead and take the safe route back to lane and go through his own tower.
Reasonably so. It's just not much else he could have really done there, but it is rather unfortunate for Air Eternity. I believe it was the Dharmic Pillars from Switch that ended up ultimately stealing that red buff back in favor for CAZ. So at least getting that little bit of XP to round up their levels, it still works out for CAZ.
And right now, a different start, and pretty much the start that Era would have wanted being able to come into Game 2 here. They have a lead. It's not quite as big as the one that CAZ was able to get off of their first blood, but it's just showing that they do still have the effort to push forward. It's just a little under 1,000 as it stands right now, but because of that, they are able to apply this pressure that we've been seeing all around the map. The duo lane specifically, having that Hu Yi, I mean, I know you have a lot of experience dealing with the Hu Yi. That triple bounce in the jungle can be very, very hard to overcome.
Well, part of the reason why we see Atonement trying to play so passive is because in the laning phase, at least, Lizer is just going to have so much more kill potential against Atonement. Hu Yi early on just destroys Kronos' health bar if he catches him underneath those suns or with a ricochet stun off the Mark of the Crow. Kronos, you just don't have a whole lot of HP to work with early.
Malloy's not having a lot of HP to go forward with, but Overpowered now turning it around, trying to fight the 1v2, not working out well for him. He's using the ult to get the heal, and it's looking like it's going to be able to go off, and with the raw heals, ultimately should be able to make it out of here. And one of the smart moves that he had in the split-second moment was not taunting the people of CAZ.
Mr. Turtle trying to look for the juke arounds, and Alexum actually going to launch off that final judgment, but it doesn't find a home, and great steal away by Sir Duckbot of that speed buff.
Rogue T looking to continue his own aggression, although this time you're in a 1v3. Even though you are Cocolan, you're not going to be able to make it out of this one just because you are strong. Even with an early lead, you can feel that poke, and he's going to be feeling that one all the way back to the base. But he does manage to live through the engagement, which I think is going to be the big thing. And with the speed buff stolen away, Era still kind of come out of that one on top.
Both the shells, though, now on cooldown for Era Eternity. So if CAZ wanted to look for a fight, now would be the time to do so, not having to worry about that extra little health shield to potentially save the lives of Era. But it was still a really strong contest by CAZ. Just kind of unfortunate that they weren't able to ultimately secure those kills.
And with the way things are going for them, honestly, the longer they prolong this game, as it looks like Mr. Turtle going to finally be able to punish Overpowered for the aggression him and Rogue have been applying. Just because you got an early lead doesn't necessarily mean you have the advantage in the lane, and I think he just learned that the hard way.
Even with his Warrior Tabi online, he doesn't really have a whole lot of physical protections just yet, just now starting to build into what I'd imagine to be the Gladiator shield, but it's still, all it takes is just one knock-up driving strike into the tower and you're gone.
Now we're seeing Sir Duckbot actually use pretty much every single ult so far he's thrown out just to confirm some buffs, get some of that experience, which at this point, anything they can take away from CAZ is going to give them some ground to stand on. So at this point, even though it's not going to be as impactful as he could have had on the Scylla, that's still something that CAZ has to keep in mind, especially if they go for maybe an early Gold Fury, or not an early Gold Fury, but a sneaky Gold Fury like they did in the last game.
Well, Sir Duckbot having such a low cooldown on that ultimate, I'd almost expect him to just drop it at every possible opportunity, because the more he uses it, the more he can let CAZ know he's not afraid to just drop that cooldown.
And on the other side, Alexum, while he does still have the snipe, and it's going to do a little bit more, like you mentioned, the cooldown's going to be the big difference. Even if he gets nothing but cooldown reduction, it's going to be sitting longer than Sir Duckbot's going to have to wait. So he has a little bit more on his plate to deal with and a little bit more to think about with his position. We saw the one that he threw out earlier. It was decent, but it wasn't able to find the mark, and that's kind of where things are going to change up. Alexum trying to repeat what he did last game. He had a lot of control. It looks like he might go back into the Doom Orb if he really wants. He can get a lot of damage from it, but he needs to start hitting those abilities way more often.
It's just one of those things where only time will tell just how the game is ultimately going to play out, and being 2 levels behind already, and that's just kind of an example of a little bit more, again, whoever gets control of the map early on seems to just keep applying the pressure, and that's exactly what needs to be happening. Alexum trying to take away those left mid Harpies, but with 3 members of Era dropping them, it's really hard to get in there.
Now they're looking to try and find their way back into this match. And with Atonement being on the Kronos, a lot of late game oriented, pretty much what we saw from Era last game, but on this point, CAZ maybe feeling themselves after that first match. We're going to see the raw snipe a little further left. I'm not sure if he thought maybe someone was going to rotate around. Maybe it was a preemptive snipe. Maybe he just accidentally nudged the right joystick a little bit too early.
I think that's one of those things you can just chalk it up to. He either forgot to turn or it was a little bit of a misclick of the stick. So I'd probably chalk it up to the latter.
But with that, we'll be seeing, again, these teams just kind of bounce back and forth with their farm, still in favor of Era, but it's not enough. Alexum going to get rooted down, but they're not going to be able to go in on that one. I think he was just a little bit too close to his own tower for them to feel comfortable doing, and Atonement rotating over. He's now level 10, only 1 level behind Lizer here, so being able to be a little bit more impactful than we saw from Lizer in the early game last game.
Neither side really looking to contest the Gold Fury so far, and with the Portal Demon spawning in about 30 seconds, that just means that there will be 2 areas of the map to worry about, although the Gold Fury probably taking priority. Oracle Vision is in favor of CAZ, although it won't be lasting for much longer, and I kind of expect Era to look for a play as soon as that wears off.
Vision control going to be the main goal. CAZ does have that free vision from the Oracle Harpies over there in the left-hand pit, but with the sentry wards coming down, all the wards that they're trying to keep, Era want to make sure they catch any rotation of the jungle. Malloy's was such a pain for them last game, and even though he's on the Raven now, Raven's still pretty much a bully when it comes towards it. So the way things are standing, they're just trying to make sure that Sir Duckbot's safe and they don't lose that Gold Fury early like they did last time, and Lizer being able to kind of rotate back and forth, keeping control of this jungle, so far giving Era just enough pressure on that Gold Fury pit that CAZ won't have the opportunity they did last game.
Speaking of which, Malloy is lurking around that mid lane, trying to see if he can catch anybody off guard, but with it just being Tyler K and Sir Duckbot able to avoid the root from Malloy's, I don't think any further engagement is going to be happening anytime soon.
Now the mid Harpies going to go their way of CAZ, and they're just doing their best to try and farm up everything they can. Won't be seeing any of the Fire Pit Imps going anywhere just because now Portal Demon is available. No team in a position to do anything about it, though. They both have been applying pretty much equal pressure all across the map. Rogue T looking to apply a little bit more. The knockup going to be good. Mr. Turtle going to be trying to run away, and he's getting low. The taunt going to be good from Overpowered, but the heals are just a little bit too strong so far. The Tier 1 tower is still there, and CAZ are going to be able to find their retreat, looking for the knockup, looking to continue maybe fighting, but you can see from Malloy, he's just like, no, dude, just stop. We need to get out.
Overpowered, though, he's not ready to be done with it just yet, as him and Rogue are going to put some more pressure, allowing those two to back, though, because they want to just go straight for the Portal Demon. And I like this call. Force out everything from Mr. Turtle and Maloys and switch, making that rotation, probably having spotted out Rogue T off of that ward on the backside. But with Sir Duckbot here, Portal Demon sitting right on top of those Dharmic pillars, and it is going to be secured by Sir Duckbot.
Now they're going to be able to find that switch, looking for anything he can find after that, but he's just not going to be able to find anything. The rest of the team not quite rotating over fast enough. We're going to see the stuns dropped onto Atonement. The stun not going to be able to connect, though, and Lizer, at that point, he was just going for it. He wanted to see, could I get the solo? Can I get the 1v1? Atonement, I know I have a little bit more of an advantage being the Hu Yi and having now 12 minutes in, being a little bit ahead in levels. I know you won't hit me as hard as I can hit you, so maybe he can take the fight, but unfortunately for him, he's just not able to find that stun.
That's still probably a best-case scenario for Lizer, though, because the Ricochet would have been off the mark anyway, but it still forced out Atonement's beads, just being super concerned that maybe another member of Era might have rotated in time to punish him for securing those oracles. Either way, though, Era, as soon as Lizer's ultimate comes back up, I would like to see them try and make a play for this Gold Fury. They have such a strong team for securing objectives. I'm almost a little bit surprised that they haven't tried to pressure it further than the Portal Demon yet.
The Gold Fury is going to be started with that, and Lizer looking to try and get that aggression, but it looks more like they're trying to kind of bait it back and forth. The heals are thrown down. They're getting the damage. Atonement going to be able to rotate over. CAZ looking for their response. Maloys, though, going to be the main target of this aggression, and he's taking a lot of hits, forced to ult over the wall just to get away, and that gives Era even more control over this Gold Fury thing.
And just waiting for Tyler K to pop that Fafnir ultimate and go up into the Draconic form, because once he becomes a dragon, that Coerce is so impactful.
Now the stun's going to be coming through. We see the shots from Alexum, half health, barely any mana over there, looking to try and be as impactful as possible. He does have his ult, but he's getting zoned out, overpowered, doing his best to keep him off the board. And Rogue T rotating in, going to be able to help find that kill. And the Gold Fury is going to be confirmed over there. Duckbot going to be able to pick that one up. And CAZ now on the back foot, still looking for the fight, still trying to find Rogue T knocked up, rooted in place. But here comes Tyler K with that Draconic form, and he's going to be able to get that Coerce down, overpowered, looking for that aggression. Maloys very low, one hit's all it's going to take, and Mr. Turtle going to die to Sir Duckbot. Maloys makes it out alive. Atonement's still alive, but with no mana, no health. The team's going to have to give up this Tier 1 tower, and Era are finally taking control of the game.
And now, this is exactly where Era want to be, having forced out 2 members from CAZ Esports due to deaths. Alexum will be respawning, but it's still a power play for Era Eternity should they look to try and siege the T1 tower in the solo lane. And with Sir Duckbot rotating over alongside of Overpowered, actually just looking to leech a little bit of that farm, classic mid laner maneuver, but all the members of Era ready to just back and spend that gold.
And what I like is that Era has shown that they know what to do when they have that lead. They just kept putting pressure on CAZ until they eventually forced them to act. At that point, there's nothing CAZ can do about it because they were ready and waiting. Era able to take that last victory and put themselves ahead. Pretty much what we saw CAZ do in the last game, just kind of showing how close these two teams can be. But with that, CAZ now a little under, or a little over 4,000 gold behind. It's going to be a rough comeback. It's still surmountable, but at that point, you start feeling the burn.
It's really just going to come down to how efficiently CAZ can buy themselves time to sort of build up the momentum for the mid to late game stride. That's really where their draft is going to flourish at, is just letting Alexum and Atonement get those power spikes online so that they can start putting a punch into the front line of Era.
Tyler K going to be, I think, taunting the minions there, recognizing that they're not going to do too much damage, and having control of this lane, holding them for Sir Duckbot, who is now stacking that Book of Thought. So just trying to get him to get ahead there. On the other side, we do still see Alexum with that Doom Orb, but this time he has a death on his belt, so it's not looking to go as smoothly as it could.
And that's kind of just anticipated. Again, Alexum having a slight disadvantage as far as experience is concerned to Sir Duckbot. This is kind of just a complete, if you just took the last game, and you just swap the two teams around, this is basically what we're witnessing, except Era Eternity doesn't have as drastic of a lead built up for themselves so far. Although they're trying to do their best to make it get there.
Yeah, and with that Gold Fury that they just confirmed, it was kind of a big swing in their favor. Now with this tower potentially going down, they're going to get a little bit more control, which they've already had for this side of the jungle anyway, so they're going to be able to get that. Mr. Turtle, he wants to fight. He did pick up the Thorns again to maybe try and go into this, but it looks like they're going to be trying to trade that out. CAZ looking for the mid tower, but Maloy's taking way too much poke. Lizer by himself able to ward off 3 members, whereas in the solo lane, they are still trying to fight. The boulder comes down, but Alexum's going to fall. That's more Doom Orb stacks off the top, and Mr. Turtle being chunked down by Duckbot, who does have his ults available, going for the snipe, but just off the mark. A nice juke at the last second. Mr. Turtle can be able to live through that. A little bit of poke going down onto that tier 2, but Atonement forced to use the rewind. Everyone on CAZ at this point, they're doing their best, they're trying to defend, but they are up against the wall.
And again, Mr. Turtle not feeling the same impact that he had last game where he was practically a raid boss. Now it's going to be Era looking to apply pressure onto this tower yet again. Switch already being taken out by Overpowered.
Now they're looking to continue their aggression on Era. The tier 2 looking to fall, no problem. Atonement not able to have an impact you would want just because he's still not necessarily at the point you wanted Kronos to be at. Did end up picking up a Book of the Dead and now looking to try and contest this Portal Demon, but the zoning from Rogue and Overpowered is just going to be too strong for them to be able to get into it. The damage is going to be too high from these two warriors that CAZ is just not able to break through, and that ultimately is going to spell the Portal Demon and even more of a lead for Era.
And Lizer more than happy to just solo that one down. One of the benefits of having that Devourer's Gauntlet as a physical hunter, lifesteal means you can solo the objective, whether or not your team is with you. And Alexum, that is just so unlucky. Just out of range. Rogue T was probably clenching so hard with that final judgment.
That one hits home. Just everyone knows how that feels when you're just barely there. And Sir Duckbot kind of experienced that a couple times this game, but at the same time, when it comes down to it, his snipes coming up a little bit more often, like we had mentioned earlier, is going to be what plays the role for his team. He's been able to kind of be there for every confirmation, the big ones that they have needed, the ones that have been very close. He has been able to deal the damage, been able to feel the final tick. And with that, even though he's only 1-0-2, he's still having a large impact on the game.
And Golf here, going to be respawning here pretty soon. It looks as though Area Eternity are ready to put the pressure on again onto Switch this time. Dropping the Dharmic Pillars, trying to get away. Sir Duckbot connecting his Raw ultimate straight onto Malois.
That Switch very low, and that's going to be the main target, but the double pushback from Turtle. Maybe going to save him, but not enough. Malois very low, forced to ult once again just to get away. Rogue T trying to figure out if he wants to go in. Is it worth diving the Phoenix at this point? He's not going to go for it. Mr. Turtle going to be able to push him in, though, and you can see how tanky Rogue T is at this point. He's not worried about the damage coming out from either of them. The rest of his team spending their time taking down this next tier 2 tower, the second one for them, and the first one in the mid lane. They're going to be able to gain control over the map here. Rogue T still just kind of tanking up the damage. He does not care in the world, because at this point, even though he's getting closer to low, maybe in a point where he needs to be a little bit safe, he's already out.
And Lizer now, after having secured the T2 tower in the mid lane, Area Eternity looking to make the plays onto the Gold Fury. Rogue's kind of just giving CAZ a taste of their own medicine, particularly Mr. Turtle and Malois. Last game, it was Malois and Mr. Turtle chasing down Rogue and Overpowered at every possible opportunity. This time, a completely different story. Rogue has full control of the map, and with the Golden Experience League climbing even more in Area Eternity's favor, this is quickly becoming a match for CAZ to have a lot of difficulties keeping up in.
Yeah, sitting at 9,600 at this point. It's only 6 kills, so when you look at the kills, you're like, well, they haven't been doing much, but they've been farming a little bit better. They've been able to take a lot more of the jungle buffs all across the board, and really hard hitting is the Gold Furies that have been coming through. The Portal Demon does play a little bit of a role in that, but being able to grab 2 of those Gold Furies, pretty much no contest coming out from CAZ as well, kind of opens it up. So it opens the question for CAZ. Do they want to try to do what Era did to them last game, try to take that Fire Giant? Do they want to risk it? At this point, it might not be the best call, but it's still a play they can make.
I don't think it'll be an opportunity, though, for CAZ. Era has already been venturing over to the Fire Giant pit, and it seems as though Lizer's ready to start this one up.
It's going to be going to get chunked down, and we do have, again, the snipes on board. Sir Duckbot and Alexum both in the position, depending on where they are. And lucky for them, the Fire Giant is stationary, so it's not going to juke out of your shot. You know where to aim it when it comes down to it. Both the zoning and the drop coming down from Era, they're looking to try and continue their aggression. Push back is Tyler K, maybe able to pick up the support, but he's just too tanky. This dragon's not going to fall anytime soon. And with the way things are going, CAZ just does not have the opportunity to go in. Even with the damage now onto Sir Duckbot, we do see the shells coming through. Maloy's looking for the kill, looking for the damage. The boulder's going to be good, but the ricochet was just not on the mark coming for that. Maloy's looking for the last hit, but it's not going to be able to connect, and he's actually going to end up paying with his life for his aggression.
And now it's going to be Lizer still looking to chase after Atonement. That Raw ultimate just a little bit short of connecting, but Atonement still forced up into the Aegis due to Overpowered. Able to get the rewind off just in time. Full health, not full mana though. It will still be enough to take out Sir Duckbot.
Now he's going to get chased down though, like you had said. Not enough mana to really get out of this one alive. He's going to end up falling down. if that boulder from Mr. Turtle had bounced back and hit Sir Duckbot for a second time, might have been enough to save at least one of his teammates coming through it. Malloy's still a little bit too overly aggressive, but Atonement did kind of go back in for that fight. And now with 3 members down, that opens up that Fire Giant, no problem. Alexum gonna be knocked up, gonna be bursted down. All he has left is that Aegis, and it's just not going to keep him alive long enough.
Just 3 incredibly tanky members from Area Eternity immediately jumping onto Alexum, knowing that he still had that final judgment available. They weren't looking to give CAZ any chance at coming back into this game via a steal with that ultimate.
And now, even though Sir Duckbot's not going to get that Fire Giant, they still have 4 members, and honestly, the most important ones having it. Overpowered and Lizer at this point are going to be the main tower aggressors, the main objective pushers. Mainly Lizer, but we do kind of have to give an homage to Overpowered on this air lane, having a lot of damage come out and a lot of poke with the way he's been playing.
And granted, that's kind of just what you expect from Overpowered. He was able to pressure the advantage early on, similar to what CAZ was doing to Era with the Erlang in game number 1. And again, it's really just a taste of their own medicine. Area Eternity looking to run it right back to CAZ, and really this game is shaping up to be a split.
At this point, CAZ still trying to find something for themselves. They're going to go through and be able to clear up their own jungle as the buffs come up. They don't recognize, I think, the rotation. They're wondering where exactly could Era be, and they're on the left-hand side about to take your towers. That tier 1's not going to last long at all. The tier 2, pretty much in a similar vein, should get burst down relatively fast with Lizer. Level 19, almost full build, Fire Giant on his belt, and with 5 members around, that one's not going to live too long. Trying to trade it out, looking for what they could do. They were actually going to start the Portal Demon on CAZ, but they recognize the Phoenix aggression. They end up falling back. Now the damage is going to be coming through. The Phoenix is the main target, but the zoning is still just so good from Era.
And of course, Area Eternity looking to keep the aggression going. Lizer actually finding Mr. Turtle as his team finds the left-hand Phoenix. Now Malloy is going up into the ultimate, trying to get away from him. Sir Duckbot with the aim, actually just taking Malloy's down and out for the count.
Now 2 for none so far, and now it looks like a second Phoenix on the way. The team rotating over. They still have Lizer alive, and that's going to be the one who's going to be able to take this one down. No problem for them. The snipe coming through, Final Judgment looking for anything, and he finds a lot of damage, but he's not going to be able to find a kill and not going to be able to find a safe Phoenix. 2 birds down. The 3rd bird is the next one on the list. And it's looked like Era playing this one a little bit more cautiously. They recognize that their health bars are a little bit low, but with the Fire Giant ticking up, they're going to be fine to go back in anytime they want. They also see the respawn timers, maybe not wanting to fight a full 5 members of CAZ just yet, even with the lead they have. Why not take something even safer? Go for the Portal Demon.
And with the Portal Demon being secured by Era, that just means that they'll be even quicker to make it back over to that right-hand side, try and secure that final standing Phoenix for CAZ. And prior to that engagement even breaking out with the left-hand Phoenix siege by Era, I really like the mentality behind what CAZ was doing, having their members split off in the mid and right-hand lanes to push out those waves as far as possible. Didn't really get to make too much of a difference considering that Era managed to pick up that mid-Phoenix either way, but it still bought CAZ a little bit more time as far as deterring Era from feeling comfortable sieging that final Phoenix.
Well, now 24 minutes in. A hefty lead, I think, to say the least, for Era at this point. They have a 17,000 gold lead, almost 18,000. They have 12 kills to 2. They've taken 3 gold Furies. They have the Fire Giant for about 50 more seconds that they can kind of abuse this one. And it looks like the Phoenix is going to be their main target. The last push to make with it, trying to find the maximum utility. They got 2 towers, 2 Phoenixes. Might as well push for that 5th objective and find a couple kills in the process if they can break into this one. But it looks like they're a little timid to go under the Phoenix just now.
And for reasonably so, because Alexum is standing by. He's got that Final Judgment up and running, and last time he launched it off, it was fully charged. It wasn't able to take out Rogue, but if he's able to connect a fully charged Final Judgment against any of the squishies for Era, this could potentially turn into CAZ's favor.
We'll see Tyler K go up into the Dragon. The Coerce going to come through. That's going to be the main target to try and get down the Phoenix, but Mr. Turtle's going to be the first one to fall. Not as tanky as you could be, and ultimately going to get knocked down. Malloy's going to do his best getting in, getting aggressive, but he is just trading his life for naught. At this point, the low health bars on the side of Era don't really mean anything as they continue their aggression in. The Phoenix still stands, and Tyler K going to end up falling down, but the rest of the members still around. They do have a Ra, so healing up isn't going to be the big issue for them. The big issue is going to be the 3 members left of CAZ, but with only 1 ult available, and it's on Atonement, it's not going to make a huge difference.
Shell has been popped just for good measure to really ensure that this right-hand Phoenix does go down. CAZ only have 3 members alive right now. Two different waves of Fire Crews pushing in, but Era Eternity wanting to play it safer than usual and just back off.
At this point, they have about 25 seconds. They fall back. They get another Fire Giant around their belts. Tyler K, with the luck of the draw, the timer is going to be able to come up just in time for him to get it. Not necessarily the most important member to have it, but it's always nice to get all 5 teammates to be able to have that. And you can see Lizer just kind of positioning himself at this point. He's full build, doesn't have much to worry about. His score is nowhere to be seen, though. 404, just completely off the board. He's been kind of doing a lot for his team, but at the same time, he's not necessarily coming out and leading them to victory. I'd say, actually, with Overpowered sitting at 5-1 and 8, he's had a big hand in this.
There's just been such a massive experience difference between these two teams the entire game that, similar to what we witnessed last game, Era Eternity just could do whatever they wanted, venture wherever they wanted on the map, and any time that CAZ tried to fight back into Era, it ultimately just led to their team wiping, or at least 2 members being killed. And again, that's really just chalked up to the fact that Era are just so much further ahead than CAZ this game.
Fire Giant going down, 5 members strong. Era looking to try and come back and wrap around, go get that left Phoenix, get the mid Phoenix, pick them up on respawn. At that point, they still have fire minions right now going down the lanes to continue that pressure. If they want, this is the time to start looking for it. They're 27 minutes in, they still have the leads, mostly full build, still trying to find some of those last few items for a few members. But all in all, they just need to find the way to break through. CAZ really needing to get a good wipe here.
And for CAZ, that's going to be pretty difficult to accomplish. It's going to bank almost entirely off of Alexum getting off a huge final judgment onto at least 3, 4, hopefully even 5 members of Era Eternity. But with the way that Era have been positioning themselves around these Phoenix sieges, that's going to prove to be very difficult to do.
Now the Phoenix is respawned. It's still healing, but we're going to see the shell come out. They're actually going to get the aggression down. They're going to be able to pop that with a frenzy, and now they're going to find some of the aggression atonement, actually using the rewind very early on, going to get knocked out and zoned away. That's the big one. Alexum does fire out the snipe, but he's not going to be able to find the kill. Lizer is low, but again, they have a Ra, they have a Fire Giant. He's not really worried about his health bar at this point, as you can see him ticking up almost back to full health just off that. The mid Phoenix, the next target. Mr. Turtle's laying in wait. He's going to be able to push 1, but at this point, it's not going to accomplish much. He's still level 16.
And Sir Duckbot forced into the purification beads and to back off temporarily, just trying to get a little bit of regen going. Rogue T aggressing onto that Phoenix all by himself. Huge snipe from Mr. Duckbot, but not only finding 1 member. Right now it's up to Atonement trying to get away from Overpowered. Sprint has been popped over just to make sure that he goes down.
Now 1 hit was all it's going to take, and now Mr. Turtle in the same position. The Thorns doing exactly what he wants them to, but not in enough time, and now Malloy's trying to do his best to fight for his life, but over the wall, Overpowered finds the kill. Era gonna come in, break down the Titan, find themselves a win. That first game looked like they